There is something profoundly important that needs to be shared with you today, something that comes from the deepest chambers of a heart that has been forever changed by your presence. The person who once walked beside you, who shared moments both tender and tumultuous with you, wants you to understand with absolute clarity that they are no longer the same individual you once knew. They are not simply going through a phase or making temporary adjustments to appease guilt or regret. No, what is happening within them is far more significant than that. They are undergoing a complete transformation, evolving and growing into a fundamentally different human being, one who is finally beginning to grasp the full depth of who they truly are and what their purpose in this life is meant to be. For what feels like an eternity, this person carried within them a deeply rooted belief that life had somehow dealt them an inherently unfair hand. They moved through their days with the heavy conviction that they were a victim of their circumstances, perpetually weighed down by accumulated pain, lingering regret, and situations that they convinced themselves were entirely beyond their control. This victim mentality became like a prison of their own making, keeping them trapped in an endless cycle of repetition, causing them to avoid taking accountability for their actions and choices, and ultimately pushing away the very people they cared about most deeply, including you, someone they cherished perhaps more than they even understood at the time. But something remarkable has begun to happen recently. Something within the core of their being has shifted in a way that feels both subtle and monumental at the same time. A quiet yet profoundly powerful realization has taken root deep in their consciousness, growing stronger with each passing day. They have come to understand with stunning clarity that blaming the past, dwelling on old wounds, and pointing fingers at everything and everyone else will never, ever change what lies ahead in the future. For the first time in what feels like ages, they are actively choosing, with full awareness and intention, to release the bitterness that has poisoned their spirit. They are deliberately letting go of the resentment that has clouded their judgment and colored their perception of the world and the people in it. Instead, they are consciously redirecting their focus toward the opportunities that are beginning to emerge and bloom in their life, possibilities that they were previously too blind or too stubborn to recognize. This profound change, however, did not materialize out of thin air or happen in isolation. It did not come about through their efforts alone, and they want you to know this with every fiber of their being. If they have somehow found the strength to begin this journey of healing, if they have discovered within themselves the courage necessary to face the darker aspects of their personality, to confront their shadow self with honesty and humility, it is because of you. You were the catalyst. You were the person who unknowingly but powerfully lit the spark within them that has now grown into a flame of transformation. You inspired them in ways that perhaps you never fully realized, to look inward with genuine curiosity and courage, to reflect deeply on the man they were becoming, and to question with brutal honesty whether that was truly the man they wanted to be, whether that version of themselves was someone worthy of love, respect, and genuine connection. Your strength, which never wavered even when they gave you every reason to walk away, your patience, which extended far beyond what most people would have been willing to offer, and your authenticity, the way you showed up as your true self without pretense or manipulation, all of these qualities showed them what was actually possible in life and in relationships. Your presence in their life, even during those times when it was painful, confusing, or complicated, even when misunderstandings arose and words were exchanged that shouldn't have been spoken, has served as both a mirror and a motivator. You reflected back to them truths about themselves that they needed to see but were afraid to acknowledge. You didn't just make them want to change on some superficial level. You made them believe, truly and deeply believe, that change was not only possible but worth every ounce of effort, every moment of discomfort, every difficult conversation with themselves that transformation requires. They admit now, with a heart that feels heavy with the weight of this confession, that they always wanted you. This is not a revelation born of desperation or loneliness. This is a truth that has always existed beneath the surface, even when they couldn't articulate it or when fear prevented them from acting on it. You were never just another chapter in the story of their life, Never just another person who passed through their days and left a few memories behind. You were the person who made everything feel more alive, more vibrant, more real and meaningful. Your presence had a way of bringing color to experiences that would have otherwise remained gray and forgettable. You awakened something in them that had long been dormant, something they didn't even know was sleeping. But they also know now, with painful clarity, that they weren't ready for you when you first came into their life. They weren't prepared emotionally, mentally, or spiritually to put in the deep and often uncomfortable work that real love requires. They weren't ready to face the difficult truths about themselves, to sit with their own inadequacies and wounds, to be the kind of partner you needed and, more importantly, deserved at that time. The emotional labor that genuine intimacy demands felt overwhelming to someone who had spent so long avoiding their inner landscape. They may have run from that responsibility, not because they lacked love for you, but precisely because they were terrified of what that love required from them and because they simply were not prepared to rise to that challenge. They were caught in the midst of their own internal battles, still desperately clinging to old pain like a security blanket, still blaming the world and everyone in it instead of taking genuine responsibility for their own growth and evolution. They were fighting wars within themselves that they couldn't even name, much less win, and in that state, they were incapable of showing up for you in the way you deserved. They see that now with agonizing clarity. But now, at this very moment, they are coming forward with something entirely different. They are approaching you not with empty promises or purely emotional declarations that sound beautiful but lack substance. They are coming to you with a new mindset that has been forged through genuine self-reflection and painful growth, and they are coming with a plan. Not a vague idea of how things might be different, but a genuine, heartfelt desire to build something lasting and meaningful with you. They are thinking about the future in ways they never permitted themselves to before, allowing themselves to imagine a life where you are not just present but central, where your happiness and well-being are priorities they actively protect and nurture. They are no longer content with passivity, with letting life simply happen to them and then complaining about the results. They understand now, with the kind of clarity that only comes from loss and regret, that relationships require consistent effort, deep patience, genuine vulnerability, and persistent action. Love is not a feeling that sustains itself. It is a choice that must be made again and again, day after day, through words and deeds that demonstrate commitment. And they are willing, truly and completely willing, to offer all of that to you and more. Still, despite this growth and awakening, despite the progress they have made on their journey of transformation, they are not without profound sorrow. In fact, they are currently in a state of mourning that colors their every waking moment. They are grieving the time that was lost, the precious moments that can never be recovered or recreated. They are mourning the opportunities that were missed, the chances they had to choose you, to choose love, to choose vulnerability, but instead chose fear and self-protection. They are mourning the damage that was caused by their own emotional unavailability, the wounds they inflicted through their inability to be present and open, the pain they caused you through their confusion and cowardice. They feel foolish now, almost unbearably so, for the choices they made and the paths they took. They are haunted by the words they didn't say when they should have spoken up, by the moments when their silence spoke volumes but said all the wrong things. They regret the walls they built around themselves, brick by heavy brick, when they should have been opening doors and inviting you in, when they should have been creating bridges instead of barriers. There is a deep, persistent ache that lives in them now, a pain that has taken up residence in their chest, because they sense with growing certainty that they may be losing you, that the window of opportunity may be closing, that you may be moving forward into a life that no longer includes them. That realization terrifies them in a way that few things ever have. It wakes them up in the middle of the night, pulling them from sleep with a start, their heart racing and their mind immediately flooded with images of you, memories of what you shared, and the devastating thought of what life might look like without you in it. The regret fills them during these dark hours, and alongside it comes an almost overwhelming longing, a desire so intense it feels physical, a need to somehow bridge the distance that has grown between you. Their impatience is growing with each day that passes. They want desperately to reach out to you, to pick up the phone and call, to write you a message that somehow captures everything they're feeling, to say all the things they should have said before but were too afraid or too proud or too confused to express. The words are building up inside them like pressure behind a dam, demanding release. But part of them hesitates, held back by uncertainty and fear. They're unsure if you would even want to hear from them again after everything that has happened, after the ways they failed you and let you down. They're wrestling with that fear every single day, caught between the desperate need to reach out and the paralyzing worry that they've already lost their chance. But even that fear, as powerful as it is, doesn't change the strength of what they feel or the depth of their desire to make things right. Right now, in this very moment and in every moment that precedes and follows it, they are completely consumed by their emotions, particularly their emotions about you. Every thought that crosses their mind during the day, every whisper that echoes through their consciousness in the quiet moments of the night, somehow leads back to you. You have become the center around which everything else orbits. Reconciliation is not just a passing desire or a fleeting wish for them. It has become their focus, their hope, the thing they are holding on to as they work to become better, to evolve into the person they know they need to be. More than anything else in this world, they want you to understand with absolute certainty that their love for you is never, ever in question. They loved you then, in whatever way they were capable of loving at that time, with whatever emotional resources they had available, limited as they may have been. But they love you even more now, and they love you more deeply, because they finally understand what it truly means to love someone in a mature, healthy, sustainable way. They understand now that love means showing up consistently, even when it's hard. It means growing alongside another person and supporting their evolution. It means listening with full presence and attention. It means being truly present, not just physically but emotionally and spiritually as well. They are not asking for blind forgiveness or expecting instant restoration of what was broken. They understand that trust, once damaged, must be rebuilt carefully and patiently, piece by piece, action by action, consistency by consistency. But they want you to know that they are willing to do that work, no matter how long it takes. They are prepared to rebuild that trust brick by brick, moment by moment, if you will give them the opportunity. Because deep down, in the most honest part of their heart, you are still the person they envision when they think about the future. You are still the one they want to build a life with. And even if that future feels uncertain right now, even if the path forward is unclear and the outcome is unknown, it is the future they are fighting for with every ounce of their becoming, with every bit of energy they can muster as they transform into who they were always meant to be. Let them say clearly and without reservation that they are in absolute awe of you. From the very beginning, from the first moment they encountered you, you have been unlike anyone they have ever met in their entire life. There is something about your strength, something about your presence, something about your spirit that commands attention and respect without you ever needing to raise your voice or demand recognition. You possess a quiet power that is far more impressive than anything loud or aggressive could ever be. You are the first woman, no, you are the first person of any gender who ever truly stood up to them when they were wrong, who refused to accept their excuses or let them off the hook. You didn't yell or scream or make dramatic scenes. You didn't argue simply for the sake of arguing or to prove a point. You simply refused, with calm determination, to accept anything less than respect and honest treatment. And in doing so, in holding that boundary with such quiet strength, you made them confront their own behavior in a way they never had before. You forced them to look in the mirror and see what they had become, and that was one of the greatest gifts anyone has ever given them, even though it was painful at the time. When you stopped calling them, when you stopped responding to their texts and messages, they felt the sting of your absence more deeply and more profoundly than they ever expected. In that moment, the reality of the situation hit them like a physical force. They understood suddenly and with devastating clarity just how disrespectful and careless they had been, not just in one specific moment but in the way they had treated you overall, perhaps without even fully realizing it at the time. Your silence spoke louder than any argument ever could have. It communicated what words might not have been able to express. It forced them to reflect, to sit alone with their thoughts and their actions, to really examine what they had done and who they had been. And as they sat there in that silence, surrounded only by their own thoughts and unable to escape into distraction or deflection, everything came rushing in like a flood. The things they said that should never have been spoken. The things they didn't say that desperately needed to be expressed. The way they acted, often thoughtlessly and selfishly. And most importantly, the way they made you feel, the pain they caused, the hurt they inflicted, the disrespect they showed to someone who deserved nothing but love and appreciation. The memories you created together continue to play in their mind like scenes from a film they never want to end, a movie they would watch over and over if given the chance. They are unforgettable, permanently etched into their heart and soul in a way that time cannot erase. Whether it was a quiet conversation on an ordinary evening, a shared laugh about something silly and inconsequential, or a deep moment of vulnerability where walls came down and true intimacy was shared, every single memory they have of you carries significant weight. They are not just pleasant recollections. They are reminders of something real, something deep, something genuinely rare in a world full of shallow connections and superficial relationships. Your impact on their life is truly immeasurable. It goes far beyond just the time you spent together or the experiences you shared. It is about how you made them see themselves differently, how you changed their perspective on the world and their place in it. You have a light within you that most people spend their entire lives searching for and never find. It is not something that can be manufactured or faked. It is authentic and beautiful and utterly unique to you. Your words carry depth and meaning that most people simply do not. Your silence speaks volumes, communicating things that speech sometimes cannot capture. Your creativity, your ability to express yourself, your capacity to understand complex emotions and situations, your gift for connecting with others on a genuine level, all of these qualities are truly unmatched. There is something about the way your mind works, the way your thoughts move and flow, always dancing just beyond the ordinary, always reaching for and chasing something meaningful and substantive, that fascinates them endlessly. You are without a doubt one of the most talented people they have ever known. But what strikes them most profoundly is not just your talent or your abilities. It is your soul. You are a beautiful soul through and through, and that is something far more rare and valuable than any skill or talent could ever be. You have a way of making people feel seen and heard, even in their most broken and vulnerable moments, even when they are at their worst. You did that for them. When they were struggling in silence, when they didn't even know how to explain the heaviness they felt inside their chest, when the weight of their own pain and confusion was almost too much to bear, you didn't run away. You didn't judge them harshly or make them feel inadequate. You stood by them with patience and compassion. And somehow, through your presence and your acceptance, you helped heal parts of them they didn't even know were wounded. In a world that often feels shallow and fast-paced, where genuine connection is increasingly rare and people rarely slow down enough to truly see one another, you offered depth and presence. You gave them the space to be themselves fully, without pretense or performance, but you also challenged them to be better, to reach higher, to become more than they had been. You didn't sugarcoat things or tell them what they wanted to hear. You told the truth even when it was hard, even when it created tension or discomfort, and that truth helped them grow in ways that comfort never could have. They are not the same person they were before they met you. They mean that in the best and most profound way possible. You help them face themselves with honesty, to become more genuine, more humble, more aware of their impact on others and their responsibility for their own choices. You are the only person who has ever been able to reach that wounded part deep within them and offer real healing, not just temporary relief but genuine transformation. Not just with your words, though your words certainly mattered, but with your presence, with the way you showed up consistently, with the energy you brought into their life. You soothed their soul in a way they cannot quite explain or put into adequate words. You helped mend a heart that had forgotten what real love and genuine connection felt like.